Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We will start in another 5 minutes. Let's just let everyone enter in and join us. Yeah, let's just give it a few more minutes before we start, okay? Hey, everyone. For those of you who have just joined us, we will start at 8:05. We're just letting everyone come in first to join this webinar. Hi guys, for those of you who have just joined us, we're just going to give one more minute before we start because I can see
Hi everyone. I think Nurul just dropped off the call. She would be connecting soon. Sorry about that. Nurul's back. Okay.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm not really sure what's wrong with Unify at my area tonight. Okay, so since it's already 8:05, let's just start. One moment.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, yep, ready. Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Nurul, and I am the pre-assessment consultant for GMS. And thank you very much for taking the time to register and attend this webinar. So for today's webinar, it will be about the Australia Skilled Migration Program, but we will also shine the spotlight on state nominations and their current requirements. Okay, so before we start our session, I just want to share a little bit about our company. Global Migration Solutions, also known as GMS, is an Australian government licensed migration company. We are known as a premier migration firm as we provide the best migration solution, and most importantly, we handhold our clients throughout their migration process as much as possible. From their initial consultation until their settlement in their respective migration destination. We advocate the right migration practices with trust, transparency, and commitment. What is unique about us is that we don't have a sales team, as we do not encourage candidates to be advised by a salesperson. So for your eligibility assessment will only be undertaken by our consultants. And apart from that, all our team members are actually equipped with relevant migration knowledge. So when you call us to inquire, they will be able to provide you with basic information. The photos that you see here are basically us, GMS, working closely together with the Australia State Government representative and our partners. I'm proud to say that we have a very good working relationship with all state governments. We have over 19 years of experience, and we have successfully assisted over 12,000 families worldwide, with more to come in the pipeline. To date, our success record is 99%. We are also the only migration agency in Malaysia that was awarded the Top 25 Migration Agency CEO Award from U Global, which is a migration magazine based in the United States. And Desmond Ang is our managing director and also our expert advisor for all migration programs, especially Australia. And on the left side of this slide, you can see our industry recognitions awards. So apart from Desmond, we also have two other migration specialists, James Allen Hall and Audrey Anthony. Both Desmond and James are licensed migration advisors registered with the Australia government and New Zealand government. And our speaker for today will be Audrey. She's actually our associate director and has over 13 years of experience in the General Skilled Migration Program, Family Visa, and RRV. So what you guys see here right now is a snapshot of Desmond and James's registration on the Australia government website. You can easily find their details there. Okay, so even though we are the pioneers for Australian migration, we also provide migration services for these three other countries as well. Like for New Zealand, we have the Entrepreneur Plus Visa and Migrant Investor Visa. And for Portugal, we have the Golden Visa and D7 Visa. And for the United States, we have the EB5 Investment Visa Program. And we have presence in these 6 countries as well: Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Hong Kong. Okay, so without further ado, I will pass on the mic to Audrey for her to start her presentation.
Thank you, Nurul. Hi, everyone. A very good evening. I hope that you are settled for the evening and you've had your dinner and able to focus with this topic for the next 50 minutes or so. I'll try not to drag it too long. I know it's 8 o'clock at night, but let me just share with you all the important information. Okay, we've got latest updates about the state, which is very important to be shared. So before that, let's talk about why Australia. Okay, this is going to be beneficial. I know that there's some of you here, this is not the first time that you're joining this webinar, but there are a lot of newcomers as well. And for the benefit of them, I will need to go through this as well. Okay, so Australia is always ranked as a top migration destination worldwide. And they have won multiple awards for world's most livable country, right? Sometimes 4 cities comes up in the top 10, okay? So that's how Australia is very reputable in terms of living standards. Apart from that, what you need to know is, as an Australian PR, what are the benefits that you get? What is attractive when you just become an Australian permanent resident? Okay, so when we say permanent resident here, take note, it's not citizen. Okay, so citizen is when you hold an Australian passport, right? So you don't have to become an Australian citizen if you don't want to. Okay, just by purely being a Australian PR, a permanent resident, you would be able to enjoy a lot of benefits, just as good as a citizen, honestly. Okay, so now let's focus on that. Number one, you'll be able to live, work, and study anywhere in Australia as an Australian PR. And the bonus is New Zealand. So did you know that if you actually hold an Australian PR, you can also become a PR in New Zealand, technically immediately? Okay, you just need to go to the New Zealand airport and apply for the on-arrival residency visa, and you'll be given a 2 years New Zealand residency visas. And once you fulfill 50% stay on the first year and 50% on the second year, you will get the indefinite New Zealand PR. Okay, so that's actually very powerful. But it doesn't, take note, it doesn't work the other way around. With the New Zealand PR, you don't easily get the Australian PR. Okay, so Australia is still the stronger pathway to get into New Zealand if you want to. Number two, free education. Okay, so when we talk about free education, it's usually for primary and secondary school. So you do know the education standards in Australia is really high, okay, even in normal public schools. So being an Australian PR, you get free tuition fees in public schools in Australia, primary and secondary. And you also would be receiving subsidized fees for tertiary education. So as an Australia PR, you would only roughly need to pay 30% of what an international student would pay. Okay, and here we're talking about top-notch universities like University of Melbourne, RMIT, all these hot names, right? So if you're actually an Australian PR, you would only pay 30% of what an international student would pay. Okay, we see a lot of our clients who are happily settled in Australia sending their children to only these sort of universities. Okay, Medicare. So Australia's healthcare is very reputable, okay, world-class healthcare system, and you would actually be entitled for Medicare. So Medicare is free government healthcare access. Okay, so some are free and some are subsidized up to 30% just by being a PR. And welfare benefits, of course, Australia welfare system is very, very reputable. I think, is that the best word to use? Because as much as you pay high tax, right? Everyone says, oh, Australia tax is very high in Australia, but the tax that you pay, you actually would be able to enjoy it as a resident of Australia, because it comes back to you when you are in need. Okay, so among the welfare benefits that they have is, like, especially during COVID, the government was giving out like almost 750 Aussie dollars for people to just stay home, okay, and not go out. So this was very, it was a nice move by the government. They also have various tax relief benefits. This is mainly for income holders, for those with an income of minimum 100,000 per annum. There'll be like tax relief benefits for school-going children, where you get about 100 Aussie per fortnight per child. Okay, so there's a lot of support. And last but not least, this permanent residency that you hold can lead to an Australian citizenship. citizenship. Okay, so again, I said this is an option, but a lot of our clients, especially those from other countries like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Iran, everyone is really going after the citizenship. Okay, and you don't have to wait very long to get the citizenship. It's only after 4 years of holding the PR. Okay, and once you're a PR, you would also be able to sponsor family members such as your parent, your spouse, and your child. Okay, so the only difference between Australian PR and a citizen is being a citizen, being a PR, you cannot vote and you cannot work in certain government sectors. That's it. Other than that, the same benefit applies. Fantastic, isn't it? Okay, so which is why most Malaysians, they actually stick to being Australian PRs alone and still maintain their Malaysian citizenship. So it's your choice. All right, now a quick overview on the popular migration pathways. Today, the focus will be number 1, which is general skill migration. So why is general skill migration so popular, right? In fact, majority of people migrate to Australia through general skill migration because this is a migration that is possible just on the basis of your current skills and qualification without involving you needing to have a job offer in Australia. Okay, so that is the best because you can try applying for a job now. Okay, just go online, apply for a job in Australia, and most often than not, you will get this reply, do you have work rights? What visa do you hold? Okay, and they will not entertain you when you don't have a visa. So hence, you need to do your own visa, okay, which is through general skill migration, then apply for a job. And when you do that, that's when they actually look at your profile, okay, because no employers are really willing to be looking at sponsoring your visa. If they do, it's actually number 3, okay, which is employer sponsorship visa, which is like a work permit, right? So this usually happens when your skill is really, really niche or intercompany transfer, okay? Otherwise, it's not easy to be sponsored by an employer. Then we have number 2, global talent. This is for those who are able to demonstrate that their achievements are above average, okay? Literally exceptional and outstanding, okay? That's also, this is not a very high focus this year, but the main focus is actually general skill migration. Then we have family sponsor for parents, child, and spouse. Number 5, business, innovation, and investor stream. So this is for mainly for clients. Usually we put these clients through this when they are above 45, and if they can't make it for number 1. So this is for current business owners who are running a business in Malaysia and wishing to migrate to Australia with that business experience, or investor. Investor stream starts from you investing 2.5 million Aussie or 5 million Aussie in Australia. Okay, so of all this, let's look at what's the focus. So this next screen would show what is the focus of the Australian government. So this is the published figures of the planning levels for July 23, which runs up to June 2024. Okay, so you'll be able to see that the entire migration size is 190,000. Okay, out of the 190,000, about 70% goes for the skilled category. Okay, so in that skilled category, these 3, skill independent, regional, and state territory nominated, is general skill migration, which is about 90,000 plus. Okay, so from that, you will be able to know the focus is general skill migration. Okay, so look at business, innovation, and investment. It actually came down, sadly. Okay, so we actually have so many clients in the pipeline waiting to invest even 5 million, but there's no quotas. Why? Because the current government is focusing on general skill migration. All right, so this is your time. Okay, so let's look into the basic requirements of general skill migration. So number 1 is the age. This is for anyone who is below the age of 45. Okay, so that doesn't mean please don't come to me when you're 44. All right, we need some time to do the entire process. Okay, but the cutoff is 45. You would need to meet a point requirement of minimum 65 points. Okay, so this, how do you get 65 points is basically from factors like your age, your highest qualification, your work experience, your English level, whether you studied in Australia, whether you're single, whether you're married, okay, all this matters towards the point test. So here we are always very realistic, okay? In GMS, just because you meet 65 points, we're not going to tap your shoulder and say, hey, fantastic, start the process now. That is something we don't do here. We will do a point assessment for you and tell you realistically what are your chances, should you even start the process or not, okay? So this is usually done in the consultation. Next, you need to have an occupation on the skilled occupation list of Australia. Okay, so I'm not sure if you know this, but there's actually over 500 occupations on the Australian skilled occupation list. Okay, because many people think that it's only those top occupations like doctors, nurses, engineers, lawyers, plumber, chef, baker, right? But there's 500 over occupations. Okay, so don't assume that your occupation won't make the cut. Just send us a CV and we will go through that for you, okay? English is an important part of general skill migration. The basic requirement is just a competent English. So when it comes to English, there are two different tests, IELTS and PTE, okay? So you can take whichever test that you're comfortable with, but my general advice is try to score as high points as possible to boost your point test, okay? From my own clients' records, a lot of them do well in PTE, so that is something you might want to consider, okay? And what we also do for our clients is we offer a free PTE orientation for all of our clients. It's a 2-hour session that is conducted by Pearson's itself. So Pearson's is the provider of PTE. So we do this once a month, coach you and get you prepared for the test, okay? Then you need to get an EOI invitation. So this is the most important part of the application. It is the make or break, okay? This is the reality, make or break, because you need to get an invitation in order to submit a visa application. And once you're invited, when you submit a visa, you must meet health and criminal check as well, which is just to make sure you're free from criminal conduct. So these are all the basic requirements. Now, let's look at the overview of the skill migration. In terms of visa classes, the general skill migration is divided into 3 different types of visas. So you might be able to qualify to try for all 3, or you might only be able to try for just one of it. Okay, so that we will decide. But let's look at the difference. Okay, the 189 and 190 gets you a direct permanent resident in Australia. Okay, so when we say direct permanent residence, means you're here at the comfort of your own home country, still working, doing everything. Apply for the visa through us and get your visa approved. And once you get your visa approved, you actually get a 5 years permanent resident in Australia, which is fantastic because many other countries don't offer a direct PR. It's always like a provisional PR that you get, a provisional residence that you get first. But here, Australia still offers direct permanent residence. So when you have a direct PR for 5 years, how do you maintain the PR? You just would need to live 2 years cumulatively in Australia, okay? As long as you stay cumulatively 2 years within the 5-year period, you will then get your next 5 years. That's how easy it is because you don't even have to work, okay? Now, what is skill independent? So skill independent is basically, to make it easy, it's like an automated invitation. In order to submit this visa, you need to be automatically selected from the system to submit the visa. There's no third party. That's why it's called independent. Skill nominated, on the other hand, refers to a nomination by the state government. So we need to see which particular state has your occupation on the list, express interest to the state, and the state will need to pick you. So if they pick you and then you make an application with them for a state application, then you have an invitation to submit the visa. Okay, so that is the difference. Both works the same way because both are PR. Okay, so there's not much of restriction, not much of difference between these two other than the way of application alone. Okay, now 491. Okay, I always speak a little bit longer on 491 because many people they shy away from 491 simply because it's granted as a temporary residence first. Okay, so I cannot emphasize this enough in every session that I do. This TR is much, much better than any other temporary residence that Australia offers, such as work visa, student visa, graduate visa. Why? Because those three visas, they do not have a clear pathway to convert into PR, whereas this 491 has a very clear pathway for you to convert it into a full permanent residence. Okay, so how do you convert? Okay, all you need to do is in that 5-year period that's given to you, you hold a TR status, right? Temporary. Okay, during this 5-year period, you will only be able to live, work, or study in regional areas of Australia only, which is anywhere except Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. Okay, just these 3 cities. Not even, some people think it's a whole state. It's not the whole state. It's just these 3 cities. Okay, so if you actually have family members or good friends in Melbourne, and you are like, okay, I really want to be in Melbourne, but if you get the 491, it's okay. You can't be in Melbourne, but you can be 45 minutes or 1 hour away from Melbourne, such as like Geelong. Okay, this is defined as long as that area is defined as regional area, you can live, work, or study there. Okay, very flexible. So in that 5 years, all you need to do is maintain a regional residence, okay, and show 3 years of tax statement from Australian Taxation Office that you've paid tax, basically. It doesn't matter what you work as. It doesn't matter how much you earn. All you need is 3 tax assessments from the Australian Taxation Office. Simple, isn't it? It's not that difficult. Okay, because so what happens after these 3 years? You can then convert this temporary residence status to become a full permanent residency. And then you're just as good as 189, 190. So this is really a visa that is valuable if you ask me. Of course, if you can make the cut for 189, 190, go for it. We will strongly encourage and make sure that you get the 189, 190 if you make the cut for it. But if you can't, just consider this visa as well. Okay, and while this is a TR, the 3 most important benefits is covered under this visa. Number 1, full work rights. Okay, you can either be employed or even self-employed. So with 491, you can even run your own business in Australia. It doesn't matter. Okay, number 2, for those who have kids, you still will enjoy free primary and secondary school tuition fees in public schools. Okay, number 3, Medicare. Your whole family is covered. Okay, so really, this visa is totally fine. Okay, it gets your 1 foot into Australia and gets you a PR. So we will let you know what your point standings are on all the 3 visas, and then we'll decide from there. Okay. Now, this is the process for skill migration. These are the 5 important bubbles in the entire application. Number 1, skill assessment. So we spoke about you having an occupation on the list. How do we confirm that? It's through a skills assessment. Okay, so for example, if you are an IT person, your documents will be sent to Australian Computer Society to assess if your skills, which is your work experience and your qualification, are equivalent to Australian standards. If you're an engineer, it will be Engineers Australia. Okay, but there are so many other occupations like marketing, public relations, graphic designer, management consultant. What else? Lecturers. So many. Okay, just too many. Real estate agent, insurance agent, just too many. All these are assessed by another authority called VET-assess. Okay, so that's the first step to get your skills assessed. Number 2, English. With the English and your skills assessment result, we move to the important part, which is the heart of the application, right? Expression of interest. So once you go to expression of interest, we submit interest for whichever visa that is suitable for you based on the assessment that we do. So then you wait for an invitation. So getting an invitation, there's no definite time. You could be as lucky as getting invited in about 1 month. Okay, very strong profiles. And it can also go on longer. Okay, 3 months, 6 months. We wouldn't know. It depends on where you stand and what are the states selecting at that time. But what's great to know is once you've crossed this, right? Once you've actually gotten the invitation, you are like 90% battle won. Okay, because once you get an invitation, you just submit the visa. And once you submit the visa, this is where you pay the government fees, you complete your medical check, as long as there's no critical health condition, there's no criminal conduct. And most importantly, your visa was done correctly, okay? Points are claimed accurately, no fraudulent documents. Getting a visa is not a problem, okay? So which is why in our office, when a client has already passed the invitation stage, it's almost like a celebration already, because we know nothing much can go wrong after that, okay? Unless something sad happens on the medical or something like that, okay? But otherwise, all good. So this is the flow of the entire migration process. Now, today's focus, I just wanted to share a little bit about the state nomination outlook, because this information is pretty new. So take a look at the quotas. All right. So there's a column for 190, and there's a column for subclass 491 state nominated visa, and each state's allocation as well. So what does this figures speak? Okay. It's actually much lower than last year. It is, okay? So, but having said that, but why is it low, right? Why is it low? It's not because general skill migration is not a priority. It remains a priority because you earlier saw the planning levels from immigration showing 30,000 each, right? That's because what immigration is doing for this next, how many months are we left with? About next 10 months, right? For next 9 months is they are focusing on also clearing the visa applications of general skill migration that are already in the pipeline. So why are they doing that, right? Because they don't want to repeat the same mistake the previous government did. The previous government, unfortunately, built a very huge backlog, okay? So you keep getting people submitting visa, but visas are not getting approved, and your skills are not getting across to Australia. But with this new government, what they're doing is they're very sound, very smart. Yes, general skill migration is my priority. But what I'm going to do is, out of the quotas I have, I'm going to start clearing the pipeline so these guys can come to Australia first while I still invite new incoming ones. Okay, very nice move. You can see things like, the states like NSW, still very high, 2650. Okay, Victoria, 27 for 190 direct PR. So there's still clear chance. You just need to be competitive. Okay. So I came up with the summary, which will be quite useful for you to understand which states, what are all the states looking like. So because Victoria is always everyone's favorite. Oh, can I go to Victoria? Sure, can. So look at this. So Victoria is open for both 190 and 491 for offshore applicants. Okay. So the way of application with Victoria is not just the EOI, the ROI must also be submitted, okay, which is a registration of interest. So what's interesting with Victoria is they are offering 190 to even offshore applicants. So who's offshore applicants? We are offshore applicants. Anyone who is not in Australia right now is considered offshore. Those who are in Australia are considered onshore, right? So Queensland 190 is also being offered, but there's a caveat, right? So they are saying minimum 75 points. So they don't allow those with 65 points to apply. So 75 points, you can apply. If you don't, then do the 491 because that's 65 points. WA, WA is Western Australia, where Perth is. So these guys are not offering 190 unless you have an employment offer in Western Australia, which is tough to get, right? So if you can't get this, don't worry. There's a 491 option as well, because you can just submit EOI as normal. ACT, Australian Capital Territory, where Canberra is. Yes, they are also open for 190. Very surprising, but good to know. Okay, we actually got an invitation for a client for 190. We need to submit a Canberra matrix. So what does this mean? They have their own way of gauging where you stand on their own points ranking. So they don't look at your EOI points, they look at their own matrix points. Okay, so they're open for 190 and 491. In Tasmania, 190 is only open if you have a job offer in health or allied health, right? For 491, your occupation needs to be on the overseas skill occupation list. Now, my favorite states is actually NSW and South Australia. These two guys haven't opened yet till today. So I'm really anxious to see what are their requirements going to be, okay? Because if you're talking about since October 2022 till June 2023, we received a lot of invitations from New South Wales, okay? So let's see what are their requirements this coming fiscal year. Northern Territory has been temporarily closed for now, okay? Because I think they have too little quota. If you see here, NT only has 400 quota for 491 and 250, and they are very small with their program, and hence I'm not surprised that they are temporarily closed. Okay, now, so you saw that we have transparently presented to you the quotas each state offers. And I've also told you that, okay, it's not as high as it was this last 9 to 10 months, right? But skill migration is still priority. So how do you make the cut? How do you make your points better, strong enough for invitation? Number one, easiest thing to do. Okay, I can't say easiest thing to do. It's not easy, but I think that the best way, fastest way, cost-effective way is number one, boost your English score levels. Okay, so if you are standing at competent, get to superior, which is PTE 65 in each component. If you are PTE 65, try to go to 79, okay, because you jump by 10 points with this. All right, so this is very, very important. I had a client who came to the office to see me, and the first thing when he came to see me, he told me, okay, I'm going to focus on NATI, number 4. And I'm like, good, but do the easy things first, such as number 1, just you taking an English test. Number 2, your wife taking the English test, your partner, right? So always get your partner to take the English test. They would only need to get a score of 50 in each component, which is competent. And if they actually get 50, you immediately add 5 points to your EOI profile. Okay, easy. And it only costs about 700 ringgit, you know. So always attempt number 1, number 2, then number 3, because I'm also talking from the cost perspective. You also need to be sensitive that migration is not cheap, right? So partner skills. So for partner skills, if your partner has a skill like the 500 occupation, send us a CV, we'll match you to the list. And if you make the cut, I mean, if they meet the requirements, then assess your partner skill. That gets another 5 points on top of the number 2 partner English. So if your partner completes 2 and 3, they contribute 10 points to you. Okay. And last but not least, number 4, credential community language test. So this is like a test where you're needed to interpret from English to another language. Okay, so this is something which is not too popular, but it is an option to get another 5 points. It's not cheap, it's about 800 plus Australian dollars. Okay, But if you're really all geared up, determined, gung-ho to go and hit the highest score, do all 4, okay? Because you want to have the best profile in this competitive stage, all right? So just wanted to share with you some successful EOI invitation samples that we had this past, 9 months, like I said, before the new fiscal year started. So these were the wonderful, wonderful times where we had 189 invitations with 65 points, okay? What else? Software engineer, 491, 85 points. ICT system test engineer, IT, getting selected at 65 points. That's also something which is fantastic with South Australia, right? So very, very nice to see this. And for the next, because the states have just released the quota, we haven't seen invitations largely yet. We hope to see something like this as well for this coming months, right? And some case studies that I think would be great eye-openers and encouragement to you. So look at this, a client received a 190 visa invitation, and she's just a graphic designer with 3 years of experience. And the English is not even proficient. And she managed to get a 190 invitation. 491, ICT system test engineer. Look at the years of experience, 2 years. Okay, proficient English, 65, invitation from South Australia. This is an insurance agent. Whenever we speak to clients about insurance agent, they'll be like, why does Australia need insurance? An insurance agent, but it's on the list. So that's why I said, don't assume your occupation is not on the list, because the occupation list is vast. On the dot, 65 points, and they managed to get a 491. Okay, so very, very encouraging, right? I'm showing you all this so you know that whatever I'm presenting, we're presenting with real facts, not made up stories, okay? So true case examples that took place in our office. And so just, I hope to see more stories like this year. Okay, now I'm going to pass you back to Nurul, okay? So I hope the information was sufficient for you to know more on when you need to start and all that. But yeah, back to Nurul. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the session.
Thank you, Audrey, and thank you very much for that very, very informative session. I really hope that you guys, were able to, absorb a lot from that. And, just to emphasize the invitation trend that Audrey shared just now, those were our own actual clients. So the points that you saw there and the occupation that was listed just now, those are really indeed our clients that, that we have helped. And so from that list itself, you can see it's not just popular occupations like those in IT and engineers. You also see the more general occupations, like the one Audrey shared just now. There was graphic designers, and I also saw that there was copywriter there on that. Yep, on that table, right, Audrey? So yes, don't feel like this general skill migration pathway is exclusively only for those in healthcare or those in the engineering line or ICT line. It is also for general occupations as well. And like Audrey said, the occupation list is vast. So what's next? If you are really keen to grab this opportunity to pursue a PR for Australia, for either yourself, your family, your children to get that benefit, then do send us your resume first of all. So when we receive your resume, we will pre-assess your eligibility. So this is how, we make sure that we maintain that 99% of success rate that you saw earlier, because like Audrey said, we don't sugarcoat to candidates what their chances are. We tell it as it is. So if you are eligible, then we will get in touch with you and arrange for either a live consultation, I mean a face-to-face consultation, or a Zoom meeting. And the consultation is absolutely free, because we truly believe in, you know, providing eligible candidates with the right information for them to make an informed decision. We don't force, we give it as it is. We, you know, provide you with all of the very, very important necessary information for you to make that decision, whether you want to start now, if you're ready, or, you know, whether you need to wait. So, yep, you have nothing to lose. And yep, the fourth one, make a decision that lasts a lifetime. So yeah, basically you have nothing to lose by sending us your resume. A lot of people think that, oh, immediately when they send their resume and then, you know, we schedule a consultation session, if they are eligible, they would need to start paying the fees. No, we don't go that route. We want to make sure that you know what you are getting into, you know what the process is like, you know, from a cost standpoint, what it entails. So yes, send us, like I said, if you are keen, send us your resume first, and let's start from there. And yep, this is our, you know, details, our contact details, Australia's office, Singapore office, Malaysia office, which is in KL. And by the way, it's not that we don't accept walk-ins, it's just that we don't encourage it, mainly because we don't want you to like walk all the way, or, you know, come all the way to our office, and then when we review, you're actually not eligible yet, maybe. So we would rather that you actually send your CV to us first, so that, you know, you don't have to trouble yourself to come all the way only to find out you're not eligible. So what you can do is you can just scan this QR code, and what it will do, it will take you directly to our website. There will be a online form. You just fill that in, and then our team will receive it, and we will get in touch with you, of course, for the next step. Right, and this is our, actually our Linktree QR code. So if you just take, it won't even take you 1 minute. So let me just do this with you as well. If you scan this code, it will take you to our Linktree page, where it will have a list of our websites, I mean our social media pages, for you to follow. So do follow our social media pages, as we update it pretty often, and you will get the most latest information there directly. Yep, that's basically it. So now we move on to the much anticipated session, which is the Q&A session, because I do believe that you guys would have a lot of things to ask, especially after the state nomination sharing session just now by Audrey. So let me see, the first question that we have here for Audrey: does working in Australia with work right visa, example, working holiday, increase my chances with the point test?
Okay. So in terms of the point test, you would actually, there is a category of Australia work experience, right? So if you're working in Australia in an occupation that is related to your nominated occupation. So let's say you are marketing and you're working in marketing line, and you work for minimum 1 year in Australia in a marketing kind of role, then yes, you would actually get additional 5 points to your point test. Okay, anything lesser than 1 year work experience will not be counted, and experience that is not related to your nominated occupation. So let's say you're marketing, and during work holiday visa, I know a lot of people who just take a break and do odd jobs. That's not going to be counted towards the point test. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. And our next question, well, this is more on the documentation part. Do they only ask for first and last month pay slip, or do they also ask for tax income form, bank statements, and EPF as well?
So the term "they" here is very vague, okay, because there's 2 parts to the main application. There could be the skills assessment requirement, and there's an immigration requirement when you submit it with DHA itself. Okay, so Some assessments are different, so it's not only first and last month, okay? Like with ACS, it's different. But generally, what we always tell clients is always try to have two different types of payment evidences. So payslips are one. Then the second evidence could be tax document, could be a bank statement or an EPF statement. So this is usually our advice, but don't just take it blindly for everything. It might, that part is fitting for DHA, but for skill assessment, it could be different. So speak to us, okay?
Yep, exactly. Because each occupation will have different requirements. So this is why we definitely encourage eligible candidates to, speak to a licensed migration agent. It doesn't have to be us, but, at least it will help. Any licensed migration agent will be able to help you and guide you to the right path. And, it will minimize your chances of failing. So the next question basically is asking, does the secondary applicant need to do ACS? I'm guessing here that what this person means is that whether the secondary applicant would need to do a skill assessment or not. So
So I guess he's talking about partner skill. So yeah, so secondary applicant here meaning your partner, right? Your spouse. So yeah, if your spouse, okay, must do, no. Should do, yes. Why? For obvious reasons earlier, to boost your points. So if your wife is really in employment and, okay, so you mentioned ACS. So if she actually meets ACS requirements, she has a qualification, she has work experience, then my recommendation is why not? It actually adds on more points to you. But it's not a must.
All right. And okay, one last question for the day. If I change occupation after 2 years of work to a completely different occupation, will my occupation code change? Does this mean the old occupation will not count for points?
Okay, it's nice to be I feel all these questions, people they know what they're talking, right? They're already somewhere in the beginning of the process. Fantastic. Okay. If you change your occupation after 2 years, that would mean that you would have a 2-year gap in a 10-year period, right? So meaning you will not be able to claim maximum work experience points. So points wise, you will not be able to claim work experience points maximum, which is 15, but you'll drop to 10 instead. But your occupation code doesn't need to change, right? We basically, when we assess, we have scenarios like this, okay? And when we assess, it's very common to see that the most recent occupation for the 1 year or 2 years might be something else than what they did for the past 8 years, okay? So the wise thing to do would be to go with what they've done for 8 years, because that's what's going to help you to claim more points. So in this case, your old occupation will still count for points, right? I need to see this more carefully, but generally, if you're talking about old occupation, 8 years, this is like 2 years. The 2 years is just going to lessen your points, that's it, okay? But we should still go with the occupation that you have majority of years of experience in it.
All right, thank you so much, Audrey, for answering.
Yeah,
thank you, Audrey, for answering all of those questions. And thank you, everyone, for staying on. So that's all the time that we have today. Thank you very much for attending. And, for any other questions that you guys have, don't worry, don't hesitate to either text us or email it to us, and we will certainly get your questions answered. Most importantly, remember the 4 steps earlier. If you are keen to find out about your eligibility, don't hesitate to share with us your CV, and we will be more than happy to assess it for you, okay?
All right. Okay, so
yes.
Yeah, so thanks everyone. I think it's fantastic to have the crowds stay through the end of the session. That's really good. So we are here to assist you, to give you the right and best advice for free. Okay, that's the best, for free. So don't assume, just send us a CV. We'll do a free eligibility assessment for you and tell you what's best. You decide next what's for you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Have a good rested evening. Okay. See you
Yep.
again.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.